Hello and welcome to Shutter Study. Now, one of the biggest dilemmas when it comes to filming productions is that shaky hands can lead to shaky footage. And this can be a big problem, especially when it affects the outlook and the finalization of your product. This is mainly partly due to our heartbeats, our breathing, and also our inconsistencies when we're walking. But in today's episode, we're going to give you some tips on how to improve your image quality and improve your image stabilization. The first key thing is to develop a filming stance, such as bending your knees and keeping your legs at a shoulder width distance. While this may feel like you're standing in a ridiculous position, many film experts find this to be much more better and also keeps a consistent level when you're filming. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're filming outdoors and you're near trees or lampposts, use them to their advantage by leaning against them or even leaning against doorways or walls when you're filming indoors. But if you're shooting freehand, it's best to keep your hands and the camera close to your chest or using a viewfinder to hold it against your face as best possible. Another thing as well with filming is to use a wide angle lens. Ideally, it's recommended to use a prime fixed lens so you don't have any adjustments with your zoom range, but also keeps the camera lightweight as well. Another thing to keep in mind with the lens is that if you're using a large lens, it throws the center of the balance off. This is why it's recommended to use a prime lens, is because it helps bring the center of the gravity back to the camera, meaning your footage will be much better. Another thing you could potentially invest in is a battery grip, because A, it also adds extra weight to the camera, keeping it much more centered and stable, but also adds extra battery life as well. But if you don't want to shoot freehand and rather use the likes of a tripod, monopod, glide cam, Steadi-Cam, or even using a rig, then they add extra stability because they help place the weight on your shoulder, giving you much more of a professional approach when it comes to filming. But if you're going to be using such a thing, be sure that the camera is screwed on nice and tight. This is because if the camera isn't firmly secure, then the extra movements that will happen will cause more problems for your footage. However, we do realize that glide cams and steady cams can be quite expensive, and there are means of getting around it. One recommended method is to use the tripod and place it over your shoulder, or alternatively you can look at the DIY community and make your own rig. There are many tutorials online that have shown how to make a rig, and it's quite effective, especially as you use cheap materials such as PVC piping. And these tutorials cover the likes of dollies, jibs, shoulder rigs, and other effective means to improve your photography and videos. For example, a personal rig that I made myself cost about $20 to make. This particular one is quite unique because it can be screwed apart and made ideal for traveling. This means this particular setup can easily go in my suitcase and I can travel around with it. The benefit of this particular DIY rig is that it can be custom made to your size, so if you're not the same height and build as me, it is possible to make this particular rig based around your own height and size. But even if you've taken those methods to improve your image stabilization and the footage still comes out shaky, then there is a post-production option available to you. An example of these is Track Motion in Adobe After Effects, Product Macali, and New Blue Stabilizer. While Track Motion is part of Adobe After Effects, the other two products can be purchased separately for around $100 to $200. Should you have any further questions regarding image stabilization and stability kits, feel free to post them in the comments below, ask on our Facebook, Twitter or Tumblr. If you'd like to learn more with Shutter Study, please subscribe.